Who was the President of the United States during the Civil War?
Abraham Lincoln.
Who led the Confederate Army?
Robert E. Lee.
Which battle is considered the bloodiest single-day battle in U.S. history?
Battle of Antietam.
Which battle is known as the turning point of the Civil War?
Battle of Gettysburg.
Who was the commander of the Union Army at the end of the war?
Ulysses Grant.
Which general earned the nickname Stonewall?
Thomas J. Jackson.
Which states formed the Confederacy?
Southern states.
Which battle was the first major battle of the Civil War?
First Battle of Bull Run.
Which Union general led the March to the Sea?
William Tecumseh Sherman.
Which document freed the slaves in Confederate states?
Emancipation Proclamation.
Which amendment officially abolished slavery in the United States?
13th Amendment.
Where did Robert E. Lee surrender to Ulysses S. Grant?
Appomattox Courthouse.
Who was Vice President of the Confederacy?
Alexander Stephens.
Who was the Secretary of War under Lincoln and that helped to organize the Union Army?
Edwin Stanton.
Which battle had Pickett's charge?
Gettysburg.
What year did the Civil War begin?
(1861).
What year did the Civil War end?
1865.
Which general led Union forces at the Battle of Vicksburg?
Ulysses Grant.
Which Confederate general was killed by friendly fire at Chancellorsville?
Stonewall Jackson.
What was the primary capital of the Confederacy?
Richmond, Virginia.
What was the primary capital of the Union?
Washington, D.C.
Which battle is famous for the Pickett's charge?
Gettysburg.
Who gave the Gettysburg Address?
Abraham Lincoln.
What was the main goal of the Union at the start of the Civil War?
Preserve the Union.
What was the main goal of the Confederacy?
Independence.
Which river did General Grant capture to split the Confederacy?
Mississippi River.
Which famous ironclad warship fought in the Battle of Hampton Roads?
USS Monitor.
Who was the Confederate president during the Civil War?
Jefferson Davis.
Which battle was a decisive victory for Union General Sherman?
Atlanta.
Which amendment guaranteed African American men the right to vote after the Civil War?
15th Amendment.
Which battle was the first major battle of the Civil War in July 1861?
First Battle of Bull Run.
Who was the Confederate general at the Battle of Chancellorsville?
Robert E. Lee.
Who was Union general at the Battle of Shiloh?
Ulysses Grant.
Which Confederate general became famous for his cavalry raids?
J.E.B. Stuart.
What year did the Battle of Gettysburg occur?
(1863).
Which battle is considered the turning point of the war in favor of the Union?
Gettysburg.
Who was the Union general who captured Atlanta in 1864?
William Tecumseh Sherman.
Which campaign is known as Sherman's March to the Sea?
Georgia Campaign.
Which general led the Confederate forces at the Battle of Fredericksburg?
Robert E. Lee.
Which battle ended Confederate hopes of invading the North in 1862?
Antietam.
Which Confederate general was accidentally shot by his own men?
Stonewall Jackson.
Which Union general was relieved of command after the Peninsula Campaign?
George McClellan.
Which battle is known for Pickett's Charge?
Gettysburg.
Which Union general led the siege of Vicksburg?
Ulysses Grant.
Which Union general is famous for total war tactics in the South?
William Tecumseh Sherman.
Which Confederate general surrendered to Grant at Appomattox Courthouse?
Robert E. Lee.
Which amendment abolished slavery in the United States?
Thirteenth Amendment.
Which amendment granted citizenship to former slaves?
Fourteenth Amendment.
Which amendment gave African American men the right to vote?
Fifteenth Amendment.
Who Who was the Union general at the Battle of Chattanooga?
Ulysses Grant.
Which Confederate general defended Atlanta against Sherman?
John Bell Hood.
Who was the Union general at the Battle of Chancellorsville?
Joseph Hooker.
Which battle ended Lee's invasion of the North?
Gettysburg.
What was the capital of the Confederacy?
Richmond, Virginia.
Which river was crucial for the Union to control the South?
Mississippi River.
Who commanded the Union Army during the siege of Petersburg?
Ulysses Grant.
Which battle involved the largest number of casualties in a single day?
Antietam.
Which Confederate general was known as Lee's right hand?
James Longstreet.
Which Union general was nicknamed Unconditional Surrender?
Ulysses Grant.
Which Confederate general died at Chancellorsville?
Stonewall Jackson.
Which battle marked the end of major Confederate victories?
Gettysburg.
Which Union general led the Overland Campaign in 1864?
Ulysses Grant.
Which Confederate general opposed Jefferson Davis' strategies at times?
James Longstreet.
Which general led Union forces at the Battle of Fort Donelson?
Ulysses Grant.
Who was the Confederate general at the Battle of Antietam?
Robert E. Lee.
Which Union victory gave control of the Mississippi River?
Vicksburg.
Who was the Confederate cavalry leader killed in 1864?
J.E.B. Stuart.
Which battle saw the famous Hornets' Nest defense?
Shiloh.
Which Union general used a scorched earth policy in Georgia?
William Tecumseh Sherman.
Who became the first African American regimental officer in the Civil War?
Robert Gould Shaw.
Which Confederate general was promoted after Chancellorsville?
James Longstreet.
Which Union general pursued Lee during the Appomattox Campaign?
Ulysses Grant.
Which battle is sometimes called the high water mark of the Confederacy?
Gettysburg.
Which naval battle involved the ironclads USS Monitor and CSS Virginia?
Battle of Hampton Roads.
Which general ordered the scorched earth policy in South Carolina?
William Tecumseh Sherman.
Who commanded Confederate forces at the Battle of Chickamauga?
Braxton Bragg.
Which Union general captured Fort Henry?
Ulysses Grant.
Which battle is known as the Battle Above the Clouds?
Lookout Mountain.
Which battle gave the Union control of Tennessee?
Chattanooga.
Who wrote the cornerstone speech defending the Confederacy?
Alexander Stephens.
Who was the Confederate general at the Battle of Fort Sumter?
P.G.T. Beauregard.
Which Union general captured New Orleans in 1862?
David Farragut.
Which Confederate general was known for his defensive strategies in the East?
Robert E. Lee.
Which Confederate general replaced Joseph E. Johnston in Atlanta?
John Bell Hood.
Which battle resulted in the death of Confederate General Stonewall Jackson?
Chancellorsville.
Which Union general is famous for saying, "I'll propose to fight it out on this line if it takes all summer"?
George McClellan.
Which Confederate general led the attack at Fredericksburg?
Robert E. Lee.
Who was president of the Confederacy?
Jefferson Davis.
Who was the Union general at the Battle of Fredericksburg?
Ambrose Burnside.
Which battle is considered the largest and bloodiest of the Civil War?
Gettysburg.